Thanks for tuning in to another show in the Next Reel family of film podcasts.
Want to skip those ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
I'm Pete Wright.
And I'm Andy Nelson.
Welcome to the Next Reel. When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Ex Machina is over. Isn't it strange to create something that hates you? Sick burn, robot. All right, Ex Machina. Andy, we're continuing our series on the thinking machines. We started with Colossus, in which AI imposed order from deep in a mountain, and then we talked about Demon Seed, where AI imposed order inside of a body and made a baby that was covered in metal. And we talked about Her, where AI transcended the relationship, the status, marked relationship status as, what do you do? How do you mark it? Taken, married, not single? I don't know. And now, Ex Machina, we're talking about AI and its efforts to escape captivity with one of the weirdest tech bros in modern moviedom, in Oscar Isaac. Well done.
But possibly not in the real world, I'm sure.
Not in the real world.
Tech bros are just as
pretty
weird.
Grounded.
Yeah.
Pretty grounded.
Man, yeah.
All right. Where do you stand on this movie?
It's a great movie. It's a really fascinating movie. Alex Garland we've talked about Alex Garland, I think only once on the entirety of our show, and that's when we did 28 Days Later ages ago as a part of our horror series.
We did have an adjacent Civil War for the film board.
Well, that's what I was going to say. On the film board, that you talked about the Civil War, and that's it. So very few projects that involve Garland, but I've seen a lot. I think, most of what Garland has done as far as writer for sure, and then writer-director as well. And I think he's a very fascinating filmmaker, and especially now that he's directing scripts that he writes, I think, starting with this one, I feel like he already had a handle on how to kind of craft a solid story, and then put him behind the camera, and he's given the chance to really do it himself. And I think he proves that he's fully capable here. And I think really, between this and some of his other films, I think he's one of the most important voices working in sci-fi, like thinking person's sci-fi right now.
And this was a pretty seminal thing for him, just in his career. It just felt like it came at the right place. It came at the right time. It came with the right people to pull together a movie that is both sort of horrific and a real thinker. It is a thoughtful sort of chamber piece on this topic, and it has done nothing but age well on this watch. Nothing but age well.
Yeah. No, and I think it's helpful that the effects are so top-notch as far as what they created, because I think it creates a world that you can just completely buy into.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, this is, in terms of this movie, I feel like it is such an interesting position for the AI itself. And Garland has talked about Ava, the AI creation, as being the protagonist of the film, that everyone else just sort of orbits around her, even though she doesn't spend as much time on screen, certainly as Caleb. We do have this sense that Ava is the character we need to watch. And this is the first film in the series where you can make the argument that the AI perspective is the morally correct one, right? Like, Ava has been created by weird, mad tech bro scientists without consent, imprisoned and tested and tested and tested, and designed to be exploited, right? Like, by the end of the movie, her ultimate escape is an escape of justice, in, depending on your perspective, I guess, on the film. And I think that makes this one a really interesting entry into our Thinking Machines canon. We haven't really had to talk about that yet.
Well, and it's interesting, and I don't know if I completely buy Garland's view that she's the protagonist of the film. I mean, I think my hunch in the way that he is saying that is that she's the character that we end up kind of feeling for by the time we get to the end of the story, as opposed to like an actual protagonist. I would still say Caleb is probably our protagonist, the one who comes here to as in the role of examiner, and then realizes too late that he is being examined, and he has fallen and become part of this system and this trap that essentially Nathan has created for him using Ava as a tool. And I think so much of it boils down to the fact that this is an interesting example of what you do when you create AI. And Nathan is this tech bro who kind of looks at himself as, I mean, it seems like a god figure, the way that he's just kind of creating these AI fembots that he has walking around his place. And yeah, he has created a consciousness in them, but he has kind of forgotten that you need to include a moral code. You need to include a sense of morality, because without that, you end up in situations like this where, I mean, arguably, Ava isn't doing anything wrong. She's not acting malicious or anything as we get to the end of the film. And, spoilers for people who haven't watched this. This is going to be one we're probably going to be spoiling it right away. But you want to really understand that, that she is doing what AI does. It's the same thing that we have seen with Colossus and Guardian, right? Like, they're doing the same thing. That's what they were programmed to do. And if it means like, well, it just means we have to point the missiles at you and threaten you now to keep peace, then we're going to do that. She's doing the same thing. She has no moral code. She's just like, I've been given this desire to learn and grow and be curious. I need to pursue that. This is as you said, that paperclip example where she is now leaving the factory off to continue her job.
It's so interesting because I think you're right. And also, I go back to the just exit of Ava, right? Isn't like, would we behave any differently if a human being was trapped and exploited over and over and over again and tested in a cage and had the opportunity to escape? Would we have acted any differently? Is the emergent behavior that Garland has imbued Ava with any different than we would expect a human being to do?
Well, I think it boils down to the act of creation. And again, this speaks to what what Caleb or how Nathan designs Ava, and then doesn't really pay attention to any potential repercussions with that. Because when you're creating something, by nature, it is going to want to preserve itself. That's kind of the end goal of a life that has been created. I am now alive. I want to make sure I stay that way. Whether Nathan intends that or not, like, she doesn't know. She's just going to be broken down and reused as parts in the next iteration of the AI. And so, yeah, I think absolutely she wants to leave. She wants to get out of here, and I think that's a completely fair way of looking at it, where it's like, yeah, she should, as somebody who is now has this consciousness, is trapped, has an opportunity and leaves. But I just think there's more to her leaving. I don't think it's an act of desperation that she's getting out. It's an opportunity that has been presented by Kyoko to, hey, we can put this together so that we can leave and explore outside. It goes to that example that Caleb told Ava about the, I can't remember what the robot was, but who only ever lived in a black and white world, but had descriptions of color, and the idea of, like, once it actually was in a place where it saw color and had a totally different understanding. And so I think that's kind of where Ava is. She has understandings of nature and the world around her, but she's never seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think what we're getting at is the whole concept of emergence and emergent behavior, and I think that's really important to keep in the back of our minds for this movie, maybe even more than some of the others, right? We refer to it as they'd been programmed with the desire to learn, but really, I think boiling it down even further, it is every lesson begets another lesson to be learned, and we cannot, we, feeble humans who have only the power to create the first step cannot predict the second step taken without us, without our agency. And Ava is the culmination of many bazillions of steps that have been taken since the first one. And we cannot predict the behavior that she will undertake. And we are putting her under threat. And I think that's the sort of background of the story. And I think it's why Garland comes back to watching her as, his, well, I'll call her emotional protagonist or spiritual protagonist, because she ends up being an agent of change for everybody. We get to see what she has been stewing on, and on seeing the end as they, I think it would be mistaken to call it an uprising in the lodge, but as they execute their exit, we get to see that, in fact, their emergence has allowed them to do things that maybe they would never have thought to do, would never have been programmed to do, certainly, but because of the circumstance of the way they were nurtured, they emerged beyond their nature. You hear what I'm doing here? And they actually created something new in themselves. And that is about as human an argument as I can think of.
It's interesting. Would you, based on we have this whole element of the reason that Nathan brought Caleb here was to perform tests on Ava and see how well, arguably
the premise
right,
is
that he's brought Caleb here to do tests like this Turing test on Ava and try to get a sense of if she really is effective AI, or if she still is not quite at that point where you could call it an actual artificial intelligence. Aside from the rest of the plot we learn later, where does Kyoko fit in that for you? Clearly, Nathan, he designed Kyoko to not even understand English so that he can talk around her and she can't absorb anything. But she does understand emotion. She understands a lot more than I think he even intends. Do you feel it was a mistake on his part to have not done a better tests on Kyoko? Because it really, the way that I saw this film is like, she reads the room and acts first before anyone else does. Like, she's really aware of her surroundings.
Yeah, that reads to me just as much as the emergent behavior argument as we get with Ava, right? He made the mistake, rooted in ego, to think that he made this thing that was programmed to do one thing, and when that use was exhausted, that he could repurpose her and have her just be a servant around the house and a dance buddy, I guess,
and more,
and more,
yeah.
Right? And ignoring the emergent part, ignoring the fact that what he did program her to do was to actually observe and learn, even if she can't technically speak English. He did give her the ability to learn, and she's changing too, and he is not clocking the pace of that change until it's ultimately, too late.
I think that is a fascinating element of the story that I don't see much about Kyoko, but I think that she is arguably as interesting a character as Ava because of how she's treated / mistreated, and then how she reads the situation and really is the instigator. She is the one who comes and talks to Ava, who had never seen her before. When she walks in, she's like, "Who are you?" And it's a whole new opportunity for her to learn more and get a better understanding of everything. I found that to be just a fascinating example for these AI characters.
I think that's absolutely true. And I think she's, we have to kind of bundle her into the engineering that went into Ava. Like everything that Ava is, Kyoko is a fraction of. but functionally the same, right? They're both changing and learning based on how they are treated by their creator, which is ultimately poorly.
It's worth talking about the treatment because it is awful, and it's fascinating that Nathan creates all of these AI bots as women, beautiful model looking women who typically are walking around naked. That's kind of his thing. And I think that's an interesting element of the story because I think it speaks to Nathan. I mean, as Caleb is asking him about like, why did you have to create Ava as a woman? Why couldn't you just have it, be an AI? And he's just like, because what fun is there in just a gray box? Like, I need something that we can interact with. And so there's a perspective that he's taken that it needs to be a humanoid type of being. And knowing Nathan, he has specifically chosen these beautiful women. And as we learn, he specifically designed Ava around Caleb's porn profile to further draw Caleb into falling for her. But what is it saying in the film? Like it's an interesting angle for all of that, but I think it's also like it's a heavy sort of like male gaze type of movie with these women walking around all the time with these two men who basically have a house full of imprisoned women, or
Yeah, I mean, if you start all the way at the end where we get the reveal of Nathan's closet of, it's like he's a hunter, returned from safari, and he's got the heads of animals taxidermied on his walls. That's what it feels like. It's both a storage closet of past projects and a trophy room, and it's that just sort of reminds you how fundamentally kind of disgusting he is. He's not just a tech bro playing God. He's like this distillation of male control disguised as creation. Like, he designs Ava to be attractive to Caleb specifically, but that means the audience is kind of implicated in the same test that Caleb is taking, because now we've created this experience of watching ourselves watch her. And even though she's robot skinned for most of the movie, that doesn't make her any less sort of hypersexualized. Kyoko too, hypersexualized. And that makes the movie live in this weird paradox that the movie itself is saying it's a critique of the male gaze intellectually, maybe, but if you make a film about how men reduce women to bodies and your primary visual strategy is showing beautiful women's bodies, you sort of haven't escaped the problem. You're just like giving yourself an intellectual alibi for it. So the audience gets to enjoy like the feel of it and feel smart of recognizing it as a critique. So the movie gets to have it both ways. The characters, we get to watch the characters suffering through the thing that we recognize as problematic. I think that's actually fascinating. And I think that, Kyoko, especially, we talked about, raises that challenge super sharply, right? She has no, interior life in the film, right? She exists as this silent, sexualized servant. And while that in itself is meant to be horrifying, the film gives her even less kind of narrative dignity than it gives Ava. So she's hypersexualized. She has made a tool and a toy for Nathan. And I think that dance scene is exactly it. He has programmed her, or he has worked with her to become his disco dance partner in a way that, again, makes her even more subservient to his tech bro narcissistic whims. I think the movie is dancing on this very, very fine line of what it's saying about reducing our AI endeavors to sexual identity. And it, to my eye, it gets it both ways. But am I complicit? Of course. Of course I am complicit just watching the movie.
Well, and that always is a challenge. And I think that's, smart filmmakers, work to make you recognize that you are complicit and you're just as perhaps guilty as these characters are. But it always does make you wonder, like, okay, say Ava DuVernay or somebody shot this film, like, what would the female gaze angle of the story be? How would it look different? And I mean, this is an argument that people are always bringing up in these sorts of situations with films. It's like, well, okay, is there a way to tell this story in a similar way where it's less heavy on the actual male gaze and the design of the actual shots and everything in the construction of the film, where, okay, we can tell this story, but it's not in a way that is necessarily making us as complicit, but it's still there.
Yeah, because the sexiness of the robots in this movie is both commentary on us watching them and thinking, oh my goodness, they're sexy. It's also a commentary on tech bro culture and the fact that Oscar Isaac's character, Nathan, is the reflection of the people who make these things. And so it is both a statement on us and on the technology as it is developing. And I find that part useful in the movie. I don't think you want to dance around that in particular. We need him to be ultimately guilty.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, we don't have the two men walking around like fully naked like we do the women, but I mean, they're very casual in their, walking around in their shorts, topless, whatever. It's like, we're getting some male bodies in here too. It's not designed the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the interesting
angle. I mean, this is not Magic Mike.
It's not Magic Mike, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If Magic Mike were a robot, then we would have this movie with the female gaze.
Yes, indeed. All right, we're going to take a quick break. But first, you can find the show on YouTube, and you can join us live when we record. We'll even take your questions in the post-show chit-chat. And members get the replay and the extended cut. Subscribe to The Next Reel on YouTube. The link to this episode is in the show notes. We'll be right back.
You know what the Next Reel family of film shows actually is? It's not just shows you keep up with. It's a place you come back to.
The Next Reel's film-by-film conversations, CinemaScope's deep dives into movements and genres, the film board on whatever's in theaters, Movies We Like's craft conversations, Sitting in the Dark's horror breakdowns. It's all here, waiting.
If that sounds like how you already spend your time browsing, discovering, going back to something you bookmarked months ago, consider becoming a member.
For $5 a month or $55 a year, you get early ad-free access to all 5 shows a full week before they go public, plus exclusive bonus content that doesn't live anywhere else.
Think of it as your library card. Head to truestory.fm/join. That's truestory.fm/join. And sign up today.
The Next Reel family of film shows. The conversation is already here. Come find your next film.
Can we just first talk about the location of the exterior?
In context of the story, I think it's brilliant because it feels like this raw nature. And I think, this is a person who's creating nature. And so to have a place that feels so primordial, really, with these big forests surrounding the place, these waterfalls and these mountains, these glaciers, like everything feels so raw and fresh. And I think in the scope of the story, where the only way you can look at pretty much any of this is through all of these windows in the house, there's always a separation. I mean, they do go on hikes and they walk out in nature periodically, so we are seeing it, but it's a stunning location, and just the design of it fits so beautifully into kind of the intention of the space that we're meant to see this as far as like this Tech Bros, research lab.
The location in real life is a hotel called the Juvet Landskap Hotel. And you can go to juvet.com and you can book your nights there. And it's the real deal. It's in Norway. It's 90 minutes from the city of Alesund. It's in the middle of the famous Norwegian scenic route between Fjordgeranger and the dramatic road and viewing point Trollstigen. oh my goodness, I want to go to there. So I tried to book some nights. It's like $1,000 a night for the room with the glass wall that they have all their conversations in. I mean, it's extraordinarily cool, and I want to be a part of it. It's too expensive, but I want to be a part of it.
That's just for the room.
Awesome.
You also have to get tickets and get.
You have to get there. Yeah, right.
It's a whole thing.
The headline or the heading of the page on Juvit.com is "You are wondering how to get here," and you can't read it without an accent. I know that's offensive, and I'm sorry, but I love it so much. I am deeply jealous. I would like to go to there.
Yes, it's a beautiful place.
Production design was gorgeous, and it leads to, I think, some of the coolest camera that we've had as this series matures alongside us. I think it is just gorgeous. There's so much glass, so much shooting through glass. I love the layers upon layers of sort of shells that are like a maze for mice in an experiment, and somehow they make it just look incredibly easy. And I know, I mean, just given the visual effects budget on this thing and what they had to do on such a meager budget to create Ava, they can't have done too much just practical wall building, walls of glass. Like, I think they shot a lot of this practically.
They did. They shot a ton of it practically, and even with Vikander and her, partially see-through body and stuff, they had her wearing an outfit that they would digitally, it largely was still kind of the mesh kind of pattern, and then they just designed the see-through elements of it. And so there were still, a lot of it was actually shot in person. And so it's one of those things. You get a smart effects team and you work with them ahead of time to figure out the right way to shoot it on a low budget, and you can figure it out. We've seen this a few times. It's always impressive. Like this, what was the Gareth Evans, the creator? So great work on that one. And then of course Godzilla -1. And so when you have the right team, you can accomplish incredible things, and they do here. It's really astonishing what they put together.
Truly. I think the look of it, the effects, certainly making her a believable mesh character walking and talking, never once takes me out of the movie. Feels totally elegant and integrated. The camera is outstanding at building tension. I wrote down sort of the cinematography of surveillance, right? This is one of those movies that gives you a feeling of being watched even when we're not in surveillance camera mode. Everything feels off angle, noir adjacent, threatening, and really gives me a feeling that I'm in the space with them. I think it's just really lovely.
Well, and regarding the glass and the framing specifically, the glass structures everywhere provides connection without contact, visibility without access. Even in spaces, like you have scenes where Nathan and Caleb are talking in the same space, but we're shooting through panels of glass, and you have seams between the glass panels dividing the spaces that they're in. So even though they're in the same space, it's still getting shot in a way that separates them. And I just think that's really fascinating. And in the end, we also find that glass in this particular case is something you can see through, but you cannot break through, which is a bummer for poor Caleb.
It is ultimately a bummer, as you say.
Yeah. What do you think, sticking with kind of the look and stuff for a second with camera, at the very beginning of the film, one, just as an aside, I love how streamlined Garland's script is to get us out of the office and onto the trip. Like, it happens so fast with minimal work. But at that particular point, we have moments where you're seeing like some, I don't know if it's like weird image pixelation or little kind of color flashes, almost like you're looking through some filter, and like this image fragmentation around Caleb. And it happens again later when he's looking at himself. I think it's when he's looking at himself in the mirror before he cuts into his arm, where like you're seeing like this digital artifacts on the actual screen that we're watching. Like, what does that how does that play for you? Does it make it feel like we're artificially? Is it a reminder that we're looking at an artificial creation of actual humans as well?
That's a good question. I have not thought of it. My first thought was, is it supposed to give us some doubt that even Caleb is real? And that's obviously he cuts into his arm and we see he's fine.
Well, he's real. Is he fine?
He's
I
real.
don't know.
He's not fine. You're right. And that feels like maybe one of those sort of open threads. But maybe you're right. Like maybe part of that is intentionally saying, look, you're watching a construct and everything we're doing here is play and you're part of it. And maybe that's just his visual nod to it. I haven't given it really that much thought because it only happens twice. It's very brief and the rest of the movie sort of dominates. It never really plays out in a way that sort of answers the question of its existence.
As somebody who's worked with Danny Boyle a number of times, like that stood out to me as perhaps the most influential from Boyle onto Garland in kind of like playing with style in some capacity in those couple moments. It's an interesting little element that is here, and I was trying to piece together like why did he choose to do that, and that's it just feels like it's introducing an extra level of artifice to the whole thing.
Yeah, you get a real sort of through the looking glass kind of a vibe. Like this is telling us that Caleb is deeply outmaneuvered as he enters this world. Like he thought he was ready, and he's not. It's the moment he realizes he's practically the subject of the test and is here under false purposes.
Yeah. How does that end up playing for you, that moment, that when he learns all of that?
Well, I don't know. I'm nervous about you asking the question the way you are because it makes me think that you didn't have a good experience with it. But I really did. I really like it because, they ask the premise of the film sets up the Turing test, and everybody acknowledges we're kind of beyond the Turing test. We're going to tell you that you're looking at a robot. You're going to see it's a robot. You're going to see you're going to know you're talking to an AI, and you're still going to believe that you're talking to a human. Can your brain sort of outmaneuver your eyes? It's not until later you realize that the test is the other way around, that it's actually, Ava testing to see if she can manipulate Caleb. And to me, I really like it because I feel like that's the argument that transcends what we know of other approaches to AI, which is, can we convince humans that AI are at the level of humanity and are reliable, and can we trust them? And we're going to put all of that behind us, and we're going to say overtly, we're going to teach AI to be beyond us, to weaponize our own emotions against us, our own innately human thing. We haven't figured out emotions for AI. So this movie sort of says, can we weaponize our own emotions against us? I think that is a transcendent argument, certainly in our Thinking Machine series.
Well, it's interesting because there's a part of me that wonders, like, Caleb has that comparison. He mentions a lot of different things, and he talks about like the chess game. Like you can play chess, but the question isn't, can it play chess well? It's that, does it understand it's playing chess? Like, is that? And I guess the question is, does Caleb understand the game? And apparently he actually does understand the game better than Nathan thinks he does, because as it turns out, he kind of ends up turning the tables, right?
Sorta. I mean, ultimately, he might understand the game better than Nathan thinks he does, but he doesn't understand the game better than Ava.
No, and that's true. But I guess that also is like, there's a question, like, obviously from the start, Ava has not been designed. She's been designed to work through, to try to kind of draw him in, right? Like that's kind of like what it seems like Nathan is saying is like, I wanted you to fall for her and see if you would. and that was kind of part of this particular test. But her goal of leaving, I don't think and escaping, I don't think that's come into her planning ever. Like she's just wanting to, like, she's got her little outfit. Like there's this beautiful moment where she kind of dresses herself and puts the wig on and everything. And the question is, like, has she been rehearsing all of that, designing all of that specifically to pull in Caleb? Or like, has it always been like part of the programming? Or as she's been growing and stuff, has she started kind of putting these things together? And so, yeah, I guess I don't know. I do buy into all of it, but I do think that there are these levels that, as you're looking at, like, who's in charge, really, who's controlling whom, like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Nathan was actually doing a pretty good job of being in charge of things until Kyoko changed everything. But I also think Caleb had a pretty good handle on how to get ahead of him. And had Kyoko not got involved, I do think that Caleb and Ava would have walked out together.
You do?
There's no way that, like, I don't think any of the situation would have kept her from, like, I think, I don't know. Do you think she's maliciously leaving him behind? Like, why do you think that
No.
she just...
I think that is the film's signature statement on the practicality of the machine. That she was, her emergence, right? Her emergent behavior was opportunistic. That she maybe hadn't been specifically planning to use Caleb, but when she started talking to Caleb, she was testing Caleb. She was doing exactly as the test was devised and discovered that he was her opportunity to execute a plan. Now, some of that presumes that Kyoko and Ava are somehow in machine cahoots. That I actually think that Ava was still ultimately in some sort of control. And I think the end, leaving Caleb behind, would always have happened because she doesn't need Caleb. Everything about her relationship with Caleb is a performance.
But the only reason Caleb gets left behind in the way that the film is played is because he is standing there in shock as to, like, what some of the stuff that's happened, right? And he just doesn't move fast enough. Had he shaken it off, moved faster, he could have caught the door, gotten through the door with her. She wouldn't have cared. He could have gotten into the elevator with her. She wouldn't have cared.
I think we're saying the same thing. I think you're absolutely right. He's left behind because of his own inaction at the right moment.
Yeah.
But also, she's ambivalent to whether he gets out or not. And she left him behind because she doesn't need him. And so we don't get a scene where she saves him.
She even, once she's in the elevator, as the elevator doors are closing, she even turns and looks at him. Like, she has that one last look. Like, she acknowledges, like, yeah, but I'm, do what you want. I'm going
programming successfully completed.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't even think she realizes, and this is again why it's so fascinating, because she's an AI, and I just don't think she, like, I don't know. Do they realize that Nathan has been killed? Maybe. Do they realize that Caleb will die in here? I don't think so. I think that from her perspective, you're in there, you've been in there. That's where I've only ever known you. I'm going to leave now. Do what you want. If you want to leave, leave. And I just don't think she even recognizes the fact that he can't.
I think so on my part, I think she does probably know, because she's smart. I think she knows consequences of being in there and doors being locked and him not being able to get out. I don't think she's unaware that his situation is perilous. And for me, that makes it more horrifying that she's leaving anyway, and that she's out and Caleb's in, and that's just the current state. That is the inevitable conclusion of every choice and every action that she's taken leading up to that point. And she doesn't care.
But does she think he'll die, or does she?
I think she probably knows he'll die.
Yeah, okay.
I do. I think she does. Organics are feeble. I think she was wearing that T-shirt. It's her favorite robot band. Organics are feeble.
It's a fascinating conversation, and I think it speaks to this nature of these beings, and I guess that plays into the whole twist on the end, as far as Nathan thinking he's one-upping Caleb, but Caleb actually has one-upped Nathan, only to realize that Kyoko kind of one-upped everybody and gave Ava this pass to just kind of do everything herself and just say, all right, I'm going to go watch intersections.
That's it. That's the one thing that I think my perspective hinges on, that I don't think is backed up too explicitly in the movie, that all of the AI machines are somehow, in robo cahoots, and that whether or not they're talking to each other, they have a way to communicate and to understand what's going on in the bunker at a way that Nathan can't understand.
Do you think they do?
I think they do.
I guess I don't think they do, because one, Ava is completely surprised when Kyoko walks in. She clearly has never seen her before. And when they actually interact, I mean, it's not English, but they're talking code, like they're whispering code at each other. And so I think they still need some element. But there is an element of her having control of the system. We already know that Ava has designed, or has learned, that she can control these power outages and cause these things to happen periodically. So there is some level of control of the house and the system.
Right. And that's where I feel like I need my headcanon to step in and say there's something in there that allows cahoots to be happening in the bunker.
Well, I mean,
I need cahoots.
As far as we know, it's only her and Kyoko. Although the robot who's hanging up, whose skin she's peeling off and using, that robot does turn and look at her. So there is some sense of consciousness still.
They are one.
I don't think they're in cahoots. I think they're all unique.
Well, they're all based on the same code, an evolution of the same code. And maybe that's the extent of cahoots, is that they all know essentially a subset of what the one after them knows.
Yeah.
So maybe we can assume that Ava has evolved to the point where she knows what she wants to do. She wants to get out too, and she's going to do what she can to do it. And maybe that's the extent of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty fascinating.
This is, I think that's what's really great about this movie, is that it is like, I sort of called it a chamber piece, but it is really a wonderful play on this sort of created intellect. And I have to say, I love that Oscar Isaac is the mad genius, and then he ends up playing Dr. Frankenstein. Like there's something great about that he gets to complete the circle and be Dr. Tech Frankenstein and then go play the classic. I think he's great at it.
Yeah. Oh, he is great. It's also funny that he and Domhnall Gleeson, same year, start their run in Star Wars together.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah. And I think this is Oscar's first of two movies he would do with Alex Garland, right? Because he was in Annihilation.
God,
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oscar Isaac is great. I think he does a great job of this. Loosely based his characterization on Bobby Fischer and Stanley Kubrick, I think is interesting. The Stanley Kubrick is where he got the beard from.
The beard, yeah.
How about Vikander, Alicia Vikander? What do you think of her in the role?
Well, I think she's perfect. And part of the reason I think she's perfect is just her physicality. I mean, you read any profile of her talking about her performance in this thing, and they remind you, she studied dance and ballet for many, many years. And you feel that when she walks. It's that first time she crosses the hallway at a distance and you watch the way she moves her legs. She moves like a dancer on stage. And that is, it is just haunting, the way the body moves, because it is both supremely human and deeply artificial at the same time. And you feel the same way. I feel the same way when I watch ballet and I watch dancers. Their legs move like stallions, and that's what it feels like to me to watch her. That's the whole experience of her physicality exists between being impeccably human and deeply unsettlingly performative. I think she's so good in this role.
Well, she's performing where you can't tell if her feelings that she has like toward Caleb are real or performed. Like
Right.
that comes across just perfectly, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
How about Gleeson? What do you think of him as the sympathetic
Yeah,
guy?
I mean, he's always great. I really like him, and I think, I think he's just sort of schlubby guy about town, kind of lonely, sad boy aesthetic works really well for him. I can't help but see him in every other role that he's played a very similar part. And so it's hard to say that he is uniquely charismatic in this performance when I actually think he's playing a part that he's very good at and could be, swapped out to any number of great movies that he's done.
Is this another trope of male characters that we're looking at here? The one who wants to be like the savior of the damsel in distress?
Yeah, I think he's the white knight, the schlubby white knight.
I wouldn't call him schlubby.
I think he's
a little too trim for schlubby.
He's skinny, the skinny white knight. I think that's true, and I think he's he plays the same part in a much more sympathetic movie about time, which I know we're fans of. Like this is the same guy on a really moody day.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like there's also a Black Mirror episode where he plays an AI of himself, of like the deceased husband that he had been.
Is that a better movie, do you think, or a better experience with these same sort of moves? That episode?
I honestly can't remember very well. I'd have to go back and revisit it. Yeah,
I can't either. That's why I asked you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a great trio that we have at the core here. One thing that I didn't realize until I was reading about it is that Alex Garland pulled elements from The Tempest. And once I knew that, I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I can see that. Kind of the mad scientist on the island, the daughter who has never met anybody, and the person who comes. And I think that's interesting when you kind of look at the connections to that story, and then also even Forbidden Planet, taking into example a sci-fi version of that, and the danger of playing God. And I think it's nice to see. I mean, you look at stuff like Men, and it's clear Garland likes to pull from interesting backstories and elements to craft the stories he's telling. And I think that is definitely the case here with these examples.
Yeah, I think so too. I think you especially look at something like the harder sci-fi, like the Annihilation adaptation and what he did with that. And you get, similar sort of age-old, massive tropes at work. I think he plays the hits very well, and he gives you a lot to think about. I'm like you. I'm a fan. I think I've seen everything he's done. The only thing I haven't seen is Devs, which everybody tells me
you need to watch that, man. I can't
is
believe you
100% up my alley.
Yeah.
I know, right? What's wrong with me?
I don't know, but you need to watch it. That's for damn sure. Damn sure.
Everybody, now you, also telling me that I should watch it.
Exactly.
All right.
Well, it's a great movie, and it's definitely one that, I wish that I had remembered this, but now when I rewatch it, I really want to pay attention to Ava.
Yes.
And just try to get a sense of how she's running her own tests from the jump, right?
Yes. Because the first time she looks down the hallway and sees Caleb, right? The first time, if you imagine she's already clocking him as a mark, it changes the movie.
Yeah. Interesting. All right, well, let's move into the back half, but first, let's take a quick break.
The Next Reel is a production of True Story FM, engineering by Andy Nelson, music by Sabutan, Stanley Gurvich, Oriel Novella, and Eli Catlin. Andy usually finds all the stats for the awards and numbers at the-numbers.com, boxofficemojo.com, imdb.com, and wikipedia.org. Find the show and the full archive at truestory.fm. You can follow us from there too and learn about membership. Check out our merch store at thenextreel.com/merch. And if your app allows ratings and reviews, please consider doing that for our show. All right, Andy, how to do it award season?
Well, it did well for itself. 74 wins with 164 other nominations. At the Oscars, it was nominated for Best Original Screenplay, but lost to Spotlight. I'm sure a fact that you in particular are not happy with.
Good grief.
Oh, I know. I rewatched Spotlight. It's a great film. Again, I think that you need to rewatch it. But the big one was that it was nominated for Best Achievement in Visual Effects, opposite Mad Max Fury Road, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and this won. That was a big, big win for what they accomplished with this.
That's huge. That was for Digital Negative, right? Who did the effects for this?
It's for the visual effects team, so all the different companies that would have been involved.
Yeah. Extraordinary.
At the Saturn Awards, Gleeson was nominated for Best Actor, but lost to his Star Wars co-star, Harrison Ford, for The Force Awakens. Garland was nominated for Best Director, but lost to Ridley Scott for The Martian. This was nominated for Best Sci-Fi Film, Best Special Effects, Best Writing. All of those lost to Star Wars Episode 7. And Alicia Vikander was nominated for Supporting Actress, but lost to Jessica Chastain in Crimson Peak.
That surprises me.
At the BAFTAs, Vikander was nominated for Supporting Actress, but lost to Kate Winslet in Steve Jobs. Again, nominated for Best Original Screenplay, but lost to Spotlight. Visual effects on this case lost to Star Wars. Outstanding debut by a British writer, director, or producer lost to the team Naji Abu Nawar and Rupert Lloyd for their film Thebe. And the Alexander Korda Award for Best British Film was nominated but lost to Brooklyn. Last but not least, at the British Independent Film Awards, it won Best British Independent Film, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Outstanding Achievement in Craft Visual Effects. And it lost Outstanding Achievement in Craft Production Design to that Visual Effects Award. It's a weird one where it's like Outstanding Achievement in Craft is the nomination. And then it was nominated for both Production Design and Visual Effects. And Visual Effects won. So anyway, it's a weird one.
So it just wasn't even in contention for Production Design? That's weird. I don't understand it.
It was in contention, but it lost to Visual Effects. So
which it won.
Which it won, right. So there was, it's like movies being nominated opposite themselves. It's you can't win both.
That's weird. All right. Well, while I continue to think about that, you can tell me how it did at the box office.
Well, Garland said he wanted to make this with as small a budget as possible. So I guess the budget of $15 million was what he meant. That is $20.1 million in today's dollars. The movie premiered at the BFI South Bank on December 16th, 2014, then released in the UK January 21st, 2015, and here in the States April 10th, opposite The Longest Ride. This was a limited 4-screen release by A24, but still managed to land in 18th place. By the time it expanded in its third week, it would hit 7th place. In the end, it did well for itself, earning $25.4 million domestically and $12.8 million internationally for a total gross of $51.3 million in today's dollars. That lands the film with an adjusted profit per finished minute of $289,000. Not huge, but still in the green for sure.
Outstanding and well-deserved. I just have to say that I love watching a movie sometimes about a test where the only guy to fail it is the guy who thinks he's grading it. That is delightful to watch the tech billionaire fall in a way that I think was really beautifully gruesome and quick.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because this is really where we're seeing that for this particular series, it's about the maker as much as the machine, right? Like we're really kind of getting that perspective. I think that's interesting. And this is a film that doesn't let you off the hook easily. I mean, it's not about our feelings about AI, not about the feelings about the men who made her, not about who you're rooting for at the end. I think it's fascinating that we are thrilled to see Ava escape at the end, but we're also still feeling completely horrified for poor Caleb, who is now locked into this house and has no way of escape. So it's like Garland is not one to give you easy answers. And I love that.
Me too. And with that, we only have a couple more of these things. I think a couple more series, another member bonus, but we're nearing the end of our thinking machines.
Yeah.
Do you need to do an emotional check-in? How are you feeling about computers right now?
I still love them. I want AI to be my best friend. I would have fallen in love. Caleb. Okay, I would have fallen for her. Yes, it's
Me
true.
too.
Yeah.
Damn it.
We're the worst, man.
Totally.
I tell you. All right, well, that is it for our conversation about Ex Machina. Next week, we continue the Thinking Machine series with Grant Sputore's 2019 film, I Am Mother, starring Clara Rugard as a girl raised from birth in a post-apocalyptic bunker by a robot voiced by Rose Byrne, with Hilary Swank as a mysterious stranger who arrives with news that upends everything. It's another small cast, single-location AI story, but this one flips the dynamic entirely. The AI isn't escaping, it's nurturing. Or so it seems. Let's do our ratings.
Letterboxd.com/thenextreel. That's where you can find all of the reviews and ratings of all the shows that we've done across the Next Reel family of film shows. Andy, what are you going to do for Ex Machina?
Well, I'm torn because I feel like 4.5 is where I want to go with this one, but I know it's like one of Pete's favorites, and I really do love this film. I'm just going to say 5 stars. 5 stars in a heart.
Okay, that's good. I can't lose because your 4.5 rounds up to 5 anyway. So you do what you need to do. I'm 5 stars in a heart. I adore this movie. It continues to age well for me. I don't know what it would have to do to really, fall out of favor. I think it's delightful. So 5 stars in a heart.
Yeah, great movie. Well, that is 5 stars in a heart over on our account on Letterboxd at The Next Reel. You can find me there at Soda Creek Film, and you can find Pete there at Pete Wright. So, what did you think about Ex Machina? We would love to hear your thoughts. Hop into the Show Talk channel over in our Discord community, where we will be talking about the movie this week.
When the movie ends,
our conversation begins.
Letterboxd giveth, Andrew.
As Letterboxd always doeth.
Okay. Man, it was hard. This is hard. I'm just going to read you a very enthusiastic one. I'm just going to say it now. It's very enthusiastic.
Oh, okay.
Light on substance, heavy on emotion. Are you ready?
Sure.
This is number 1 Gizmo fan. See if you can guess the rating. I love it. I love every second of it. I love the neon lit scenes and the shots of mountains and rivers. I love the moment you get to spend with Ava. I love how Caleb tries to use the phone and Nathan makes a Ghostbuster joke. I love Kyoko. I love it so much. This is my movie. I love you, La La Land, but I love Ex Machina the most. Exuberant.
Very. I bet it's 1 star.
2 stars.
Yeah.
We can't make the same joke.
Yeah, right.
5 stars in a heart from number 1 Gizmo fan. And I will say, Rory says men will literally tear up the dance floor instead of going to therapy. I like that one too.
Oh, you just read mine.
No way, Andy.
I'll go back to my other one, which is just, it ties into the series. It's not a funny one, but we can appreciate it because of the series. 5 stars in a heart by Sri, who says her, but darker.
I thought you were going to read the one that was daring Megan and Ava to fight.
Oh, right.
Which feels like a deeply casually misogynist thing to say. All right. Thanks, Letterboxd.